Hey everybody, welcome to the Cozy Cardigans podcast. My name is Mel. I am the owner and dyer for Big Little Yarn Co. and I live in Hyogo, Japan with my husband Tim and my son Everest, who we call Effie. And welcome to another little chatty video. I know a lot of you liked the last video that I ended up doing. That was a bit more chatty, so I thought maybe this would be a little more up your alley. So I have recently, let me just say, I've always been into striped things like striped sweaters, striped shirts. Like, I love a good stripe. But the thing is that when it comes to combing through Ravelry and looking through all of the different knitting patterns out there, there tends to be, or there is a lot of striped sweater patterns, and I kind of wanted to gather all of them up and figure out what's the difference, like what makes each one of these patterns different from the other, like why buy one when you could buy the other. Just for the sake of this video though, I'm only looking through crew neck sweaters that have pretty much almost, if not all over, striping. So there's obviously like v-neck sweaters, there's different colors and all this stuff, and I get why those would be a separate pattern. Like if you wanted a polo collar, there's a pattern for that. If you wanted a v-neck, all that stuff, it's like a whole nother thing. But this video in particular, what I'm going to be doing is looking through, sorry, I don't know if you could hear, but there's like a huge garbage truck outside. Okay, but for the sake of this video, what I've collected are just crew neck top down sweaters, and we'll go through them all together. I tried to figure out what order I should put them all in. Just because, they're all so similar. But what I ended up doing is I'm going to be showing them or talking about them in order of gauge. So I'm going to start with the patterns with the smallest gauge, so fingering weight stuff. And then I believe we're going to get to like a heavier weight DK. Hopefully that makes the most sense for you. I'll have the list of the patterns down in the description box. Oh, sorry, let me get that. I'm sorry, I had a package come in. But anyways, what was I talking about? I was talking about the order of things. So I just thought that it would make the most sense. I'll have all the patterns in the description box down below, so you could just take a look through yourself to just look through the meat of things. What I'm going to do is talk about, obviously, pattern name, pattern designer, weight of yarn called for. These are all top down, but I'll just reiterate it. And then what kind of yoke it's going to be, like how the construction is, just the basic stuff that I've gleaned from the Ravelry page. I haven't bought any of these patterns, just FYI. These are all just from what I've seen through pictures in the description box, so it might not be the exact thing. And then just specific design details that I found that is specific to this pattern, and then how much ease they recommend, and also the gauge. Sorry, I'm looking here at my laptop here so that I don't get lost. But hopefully this helps you figure out, one, if you need some stripey sweater inspo, you'll get some of that, and two, figure out what would work best for you and your project that you have in mind. There's just so many sweater patterns that these are obviously not all the stripey sweater patterns. These are just the ones that I've had on my favorites list for a while, and I just kind of wanted to smush it all together so that we can figure out what's what. So first off, the first sweater. So the one with the smallest gauge that I have on my list of 8 is the Sabela sweater by Isabel Kraemer. This one, I know she has like a short sleeve option and a long sleeve option, but anyway, so the weight is fingering weight. It's top down sweater, circular yoke with a contiguous set-in sleeves. She says that it's kind of a bit of a modification. If you don't know, contiguous set-in sleeves are like if you have a circular yoke, but you want some of, like, obviously your shoulders are not circular, like your body still has the sharp corners from your your shoulders. So what the contiguous method does is it makes a bit of a sleeve cap. So if you're not really into a circular yoke, I personally do not enjoy a circular yoke fit-wise, but I do love knitting it because it allows for a lot more color work options, obviously. Contiguous set-in sleeve might be the trick for you. So it's got really interesting shaping. From what I see in the pictures, it is a bit of more of an open look. I feel like this is like more of a springtime or a fall sweater because it is fingering weight, and I don't see any ribbing on the neck, and there is very little ease, kind of little ease. It calls for 2.5 to 7.5 centimeters or 1 to 3 inches of ease, so quite tight compared to, I think this is the one with the least amount of ease in my list of 8. The gauge is 24 stitches, 36 rows for 4 inches / 10 centimeters on a US size 4 needle. So yeah, smallest in the list of gauges. So this would be a really great option for, I would say, advent calendars or countdown calendars, yarn scraps, that kind of thing, because it has that circular yoke, makes it really easy to change colors as needed, but also at the same time it has the set-in sleeves. So this is actually one of the options I was thinking of for, I have like a bunch of countdown calendars that I need to knit up, and this is actually a good option that I really like. The next on the list for this sweater amalgamation is the Farnham sweater by the Knit Pro Girl. I've been eyeing this sweater for a really long time. I really like the thin stripes, and I like how the stripes go up the collar. It's a funnel neck, so it's not like a turtleneck, so it's not so constricting. I'm not a super big fan of turtlenecks personally, just because I just don't like having the collar just always touching the top of my neck. So the funnel neck option is really nice. And the weight says sport, but the yarn called for, or the one that she used for the sample, is fingering weight plus mohair lace weight. So it could be interpreted as DK. But it is top down, drop sleeve. Again, it's a funnel neck. The ease is a bit larger, 35 to 40 centimeters or 13.75 to 15.75 centimeters. The gauge is 22 stitches and 32 rows on a US 6. Yeah, I really like this one a lot. I don't know what it is about this one. It's a very simple, it looks like it's a very simple drop sleeve construction, so it's nothing like remarkable in the construction wise other than the funnel neck, but I think it's just gives this really clean look. So I really have that high up on my list. The next sweater I have on my list is the Sibling sweater My Size by Laura Penrose. I found this because I had the Sibling sweater kid size on my queue for Evie because I really love that. The thing about this one, so this one is a DK weight sweater, so we're hitting the DK weight gauges now. So DK weight sweater, top down. It's got this really interesting shoulder shaping. They have Laura Penrose. She has this really interesting raglan increase. I'll try to put a picture here. I love that look. But also at the same time, it's still a classic drop drop down sleeve kind of sweater. It is a bit, I'd say, I don't want to say it's fitted because it's not really, it's still quite large, but compared to like the Farnham sweater, which I just talked about, this one is only 2 to 10 inches of ease, so not as much. I'd say this is like a pretty middle of the road kind of ease when it gets to like 10 inches or 25.5 centimeters. I feel like that's like very in the middle of the road, not, it's quite oversized, but not like super oversized, like 15 inches would be quite oversized. But so this is 21 stitches, 32 rows on a US 6 needle. But yeah, I really love the increases on this. I'd love to make one for Evie, honestly, and then make one of these for myself so that we can match. But this is another great option. It looks really cozy. The next one is just a classic that I'm sure many of you have seen before. It's the Stripes sweater by Andrea Mowry. In this one, she uses a sport weight yarn or 2 lace weights held together. But I have seen this, I've seen people using fingering weight for like their countdown calendars, and then also fingering lace held together to make it kind of a fuzzy option without holding 2 lace weights together. Seems pretty versatile in the gauge. When it comes to gauge, it's 21.5 stitches, 36 rows on a size US 5. So this is like a good solid circular yoke option if you are into circular yokes. I'm sure you've seen this before, but I feel like this one in particular allows for a lot of playing when it comes to the stripes. Like if you want a very fun, scrappy, stripey sweater, this is probably it for you, just because it's so versatile. And also Andrea Mowry makes great patterns, so this one is good. This one has a little less ease, 2 to 6 inches, so again, like for me in my head, like middle of the road, 8 to 10 inches. 2 to 6 is kind of on the smaller side for ease in my mind, because all of these sweaters have like huge ease, because you want that like comfy, cozy, big stripy sweater look. So 2 to 6 is quite more fitted, so if you're into more of a cropped look or more fitted look, this could be a good option for you. Number 5, so this is one of 2 Petite knit sweaters that I have on the list because she makes such similar looking patterns that are just slightly different. I'm sure you know what I mean. So this is one of the 2. This in particular is the Marseille sweater by Petite Knit. It doesn't have all over stripes like the other ones, but it does include specific striping, so I wanted to include it. And it's also just like a classic sweater pattern. I feel like even if you removed the stripes, it would just be like a classic, no frills, DK weight, drop down, top down, drop shoulder sweater pattern. So this is again DK weight. It's got some short row shoulder shaping on it. The ease is in the middle of the road, 9.75 inches or 25 centimeters. Gauge is 21 stitches, 32 rows on a size US 6. It does have a fold over collar, so quite cozy. I really like the longer ribs on the sleeves and then on the body. And yeah, so again, there's specific stripe placement, so it's not an all over stripe. So it would be a little bit more finicky to try to making an all over striped modification for this pattern specifically, just because it doesn't tell you about the stripes until you hit about the chest area, and then I think it'll probably tell you when to start striping. But this is just like a good classic DK drop sleeve sweater. The next one is the Stripe Hype sweater by Veronica Lindberg. I've seen this everywhere. This is another striped sweater pattern that I have been eyeing for a while now. I really love how fun the sample she made is. Hers has like a bunch of different colors on it. But again, DK weight, drop sleeve. It is kind of in the middle of the road for ease, 20 to 30 centimeters, 8 to 12 inches. Gauge is a little bigger, 20 stitches, 31 rows on a size US 6. And it's got twisted rib details for all the ribbing. So this one's just also just a classic one. The thing about the stripe hype and this next one that I'm going to talk about is kind of tough. Okay, so let me talk about this next one. There's not much to say about the stripe hype other than it's a really fun sample. I'm not sure about like the specific construction details enough to say what makes this one especially special, I want to say, which makes me feel kind of bad, but it doesn't have enough information on the Ravelry page, and I'm not the type, I don't really buy patterns unless I'm going to be knitting them like in the foreseeable future, so I haven't bought this yet. So if you do have any like non-spoilery, if you know what I mean, like construction details about this particular sweater, please comment down below, because I'd like to know. Because just looking at it, it just looks like a typical drop-down sweater pattern with stripes. So if you are looking for, say, the Marseille sweater by Petite Knit, maybe the stripe hype sweater would be a good option for you if you wanted the all-over striping option. And then you could also be super easy to modify with a fold-over collar to make it a little more cozy. But yeah, so very from what I can glean, surface level, it's very similar to the Marseille sweater, other than maybe I think the gauge is almost the same and the ease is almost the same. So if you have any kind of knowledge about other differences, please let me know. And then the next one is also very similar. So the Olga sweater by Petite Knit is, again, a DK weight top-down sweater. The only difference is that this one has some saddle shoulder fit. It has a different kind of fit on the shoulders from what I can see. Looks a bit more like saddle shoulders maybe. The ease is, again, middle of the road, 23 centimeters, 9 inches. 20 stitches, 30 rows on a size US 6 gauge, and very minimal ribbing. I feel like this is kind of like the all over stripe, minimal ribbing sister to the Marseille sweater. I'd say fit-wise, the Olga sweater looks for me, a little bit better, because I do love a good saddle shoulder. I feel like they fit my shoulders a lot better. It could be different for you. But this has, obviously the striping, you can change the number of rows depending on the stripes, but just like off the pattern, if you were just going to knit as written, the Olga sweater does have thinner stripes than the stripe hype sweater. And yeah, it's got the shoulder shaping. It's got a different colored collar. Obviously, those are just things that you can make up yourself. I think, yeah, Olga sweater just seems like the more chill, cozy, throw on and go to a cafe type of knit version of the Marseille sweater. The Marseille sweater seems a bit more classy. It's got that big ribbing. That's just the vibe I get. So this is not like a concrete construction details, but that's the vibe I get. They both have, let me see, they both have similar ease, so 9 inches, 23 centimeters. It is very similar. The only difference is this shoulder construction. So if you are kind of in the middle of the road between, like, say, the stripe hype and the Olga sweater, both are all over color work, both are kind of chill, cozy sweater patterns. Olga sweater has that shoulder shaping. Stripe hype looks like does not, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Stripe hype has like thicker ribbing when it comes to the sleeves and the body. But other than that, it's looking real similar. Personally, I would go for the Olga just because I like the shoulders a lot better. But stripe pipe is still quite a good option. This one's tough. This is why I'm making this video, because even just looking at them, I have it side by side here with all the specs, and it's still very hard to figure out what I would go for. I don't know, yeah, because the Olga sweater, yeah, I'd probably go for the Olga sweater because of the shoulder shaping. But yeah, let's move on, because I could just look at info all day and try to figure this out. So I have one last one. This is the Karamelli sweater by Veera Välimäki. This is another striped sweater that I've been eyeing for a while. This one's a bit more, I'd say, romantic, and because the collar is a bit wider. I really like the tapered sleeves. It's got bracelet length tapered sleeves, which I really like, and it's got a big thick body ribbing, which I'm also a fan of. This has the largest gauge out of all of these. It calls for DK weight yarn. It's top down, saddle shoulders, drop sleeve shoulder construction, so quite similar to the Olga sweater in that way, except the gauge is 18 stitches, 24 rows on a size US 7. So it is quite, I mean, 2 stitches is not significant, I guess, but when it adds up, it is quite significant. So it's a big difference between gauges between the Olga and the Karamelli sweater. So I guess it kind of depends on what you're looking for. I feel like the Karamelli sweater, you can make the stripes thinner to make it look like the Olga sweater stripes, which I really like. I like that thin striping. But either way, this Veera Välimäki has really great construction methods. She knows her stuff. So this particular pattern has this particular pattern has saddle shoulders, and it is a drop sleeve construction, like I said. This has a bit more ease built into it, 25 to 35 centimeters, 10 to 14 inches. Again, it has that bit more open neckline, which makes it a bit more, I feel like even though the gauge is bigger, it feels a bit more springtimey, maybe. It's not bundled up and cozy looking. It's more so like romantic, casual date night kind of looking, if you know what I mean. So even though it has a bigger gauge, and you could probably use cozier yarns for this particular pattern, I feel like just looking at it, it kind of seems more so for the springtime. I feel like I repeated that same sentence a million times, but you know what I mean. But yeah, these are the 8 patterns. Looking at them, yeah, again, I do really like the Olga sweater. It's just like a classic DK weight. It's got the saddle shoulders, got the fit, like it looks good. Otherwise, I do really like the Farnham sweater by the Knit Purl Girl as well. The Farnham sweater by the Knit Purl Girl is another good option. I'm just really into the thin striping. I know you could change the stripes as needed. It's not super hard, but I do love it good thin stripe. So those two are like my I don't even want to say that they're like my next knits, because my next knits always change, but those are definitely on the top of my list when it comes to stripy sweaters. Please let me know if you have knit or are eyeing a particular stripy sweater. It is stripy sweater season, guys, so I hope you're dreaming up some good knits. Please let me know if you have something to add to the list, if you want to let me know about specific constructions for any of these, because I just gleaned them from whatever I could from Ravelry. So advice is always welcome, and more info is always welcome, but please don't, obviously give out the patterns or anything, which I know you aren't. You all are nice. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and having this little chat about patterns, because we can talk about yarn and knitting all day, right? So I hope you all are cozy. It's getting a little chillier here. I'm not sweating when I go outside. I'm not perspiring immediately. You could feel the cool air coming in, which is really nice. So I hope it's the same for you, and hope you are well, and stay cozy. See you next time. Bye.